Today we're going to start on the left-hand side of the frame. I'm going to work on cutting it open. I've already removed the parking brake cable assembly. That needs to get replaced anyways. It's really old and rusty, and it did work, but it's getting pretty bad. So that's cut out of the way. The brake lines, I was able to remove the attaching blocks from the frame and just kind of carefully bend them away. They're not rusted or anything. These lines have a really nice plastic coating on them, and they haven't rust anywhere except where I had to repair it. I don't know, it's probably like 4 years ago or something like that. Right back here at this load sensing portioning valve thing in the rear end, the line broke on me, and the pedal just went to the floor one day. Luckily, I was just in my driveway. So these lines are actually new, but I'm debating on whether or not I'm going to redo all these later on. I'm not sure. For now, they're bent out of the way, plenty of clearance so that I can get in here and cut this frame open. So that's what we're going to do next. Okay, this is the other side. I can't wait to see what's in here. Ready for the money shot. Let's go ahead and peel it open. Oh boy, just a little tiny spot right here. Ooh, look at all that yummy stuff in there. All right. Well, this is a lot thicker than, I mean, it's sad to say, but this is in a lot better shape than the other side. Look at this. But see, the needle scaler had flaked all this off already, and it all fell on the inside. So, and then again, it's then here, just like the other side, right around this area. So, I haven't cut this part out yet, because it's a little bit trickier. I gotta get in here yet though, and cut that part out and grind it down so I can do the same thing, but look at it, oh my gosh. Let's scoop it out. Oh, so satisfying. Ew. Look at all of that yummy stuff. Those are some big pieces there. Oh, there's some mouse nest. Some mouse nest in here. I'm sure that's good for it too. All that mouse pee in there. Just sitting in there and rotting away. Okay, I got to rescale this thing. I'm sure we're down a few pounds. Wow. That is nasty. Actually, so much more metal on this side, even stronger than the other side. So we're gonna have our work cut out for us, but we did it before, we can do it again. Oh, look at that tail wagging. Who's a good truck? You're a good truck. Who's a good truck? You're a good truck. We got the truck rolled outside now. It's an absolutely beautiful day. About 36 degrees. So we're going to try to get some needle scaling done outside today. We're looking at the inside of the frame after needle scaling. I knocked all that loose rust out, and I took compressed air and I blew all the pieces out of the frame. So that's the finish I'm left with. There's not much left I can do to chip off any heavy rust. This side's in a lot better shape than the right-hand side. I really want to stop though before I cut this out to show what this reinforcement piece looks like. since it's still intact, mostly on this side. You can see it's just kind of like welded in on the inside of the frame, kind of like a gusset, and it attaches just up there along that lip. But because it's 2 layers stacked up, that's held moisture, and it's kind of pushing itself apart. So that's why I cut the other one out and ground it all down. Then when I added that new plate and carried it all the way down further, that just made this, it'll make it even stronger than this little piece is now. And that'll tie in the existing metal just like the other side. So I have more work to do yet. I still have to cut that back half off there, and I will grind all this out and get it fully exposed and prepped and ready for those panels. I spent some time today with the grinder trying to wear that sucker out. That grinder is a fighter, I tell you. I've been going at it, grinding the welds down. They're nice and smooth. The bottom here where this frame kind of wrapped in on itself, and then along the top here and the backside. The backside is really important to me. That's where I've got the reinforcement plate, just like the other side. I'll mirror that and do the same thing. Also, the needle scaler chipped off any little bits and pieces that were left in there, and as a final pass, I went through it on the angle grinder with the wire wheel, got it all cleaned out. My final step is going to do more of this prep and etch, phosphoric acid treatment on the metal. I'm going to brush it on, let it sit overnight. Tomorrow I'll come out and see what kind of work it did. Let's just do some brushy. Okay. Brushy. So easy, your kids could do it, but I wouldn't recommend it. Alright. Man, it does have a little bit of a smell to it. Well ventilated area. Wear gloves. It's crazy how fast it starts working. You brush it on, and you can already see it brightening the metal up right away. I mean, that's also due to the fact that I've knocked a lot of the heavy stuff down, which is what you do want to do. You want to get that big stuff off. But it goes right to work, kind of fizzling away. I'm going to paint a happy little frame here. We're going to paint a happy little frame here. And a happy little frame over here. It's best practice to go over the same spot 17 times because you can't remember where you left off. Or I just can't see it because I'm doing it upside down. Try not to get it on myself. I definitely don't want it on my skin. I'm ugly enough. I don't need to be acid burned. This is the next day after that phosphoric acid has had time to sit and react to the remaining rust. So the metal's definitely cleaner now because, clearly that's mostly clean metal, just kind of wire brushed. And then look at how much more clean the grayish look that it has to it now, wherever it was brushed on. And you can see those darker areas where the thicker rust is it's actually peeling up. I don't know if you can really see it, but it's kind of flaked and peeling. So the next part is going to be rinsing it down because you do want to rinse this stuff and then let it dry. But you'll be able to see how some of the stuff will just kind of blast away. This is what the frame looks like after the second application. I'm going to go over this real quick because I'm sure nobody wants to see this process over and over again repeated. So I did want to kind of show how you can see, yeah, a little bit better there, the flaky stuff that's peeled up, the converted rust. So it did its job. I'm going to scrub this down with the wire brush, rinse it down with my pump sprayer, and then I'll blow it off with my leaf blower because that's what I got. And that'll dry this off, and then we'll see what we got to work with. Ah, yes, the great outdoors. I better hurry because we only got about 30 minutes of daylight left. Be working in the dark. And it's gonna knock this loose stuff off. Just for myself and anybody watching this who's thinking, what are you doing all this work on this rusted out old Toyota? Well, it's not like I'm going to go buy a new frame. There's not that kind of support, at least that I found for these trucks. I didn't see any new old stock or anything available from Toyota, and I'm not in that kind of a budget for this truck. I'm not going to look for a new frame or some kind of high-end aftermarket frame. I just want to repair damage and make my truck usable again. So using my own common sense, after this is cleaned up, which like I said, you got to get it needle scaled or whatever method you want to do, strip the rust off, see what's left. And I know that after I cleaned my frame, it looked way better, and I was able to actually get in there and go along the frame. You can do, just tapping on it, measuring it, looking at it, feeling it. I can gauge it with my fingers even. But I've got a digital dial caliper here real quick. And I've gone down this frame and checked it out. On average, I'm seeing 100 thousandths, We're doing the standard method here. We're not going to go into metrics and things, but right here. 111, that's in this little section. You can go all around the frame. I can't get laser accurate here with what I'm trying to do. 110, again. I know it looks probably thin because of how I ground it, trying to clean this up. But just wanted to kind of show you guys that, right there where there was less rust outside of that where it's boxed in, 124 thou, and it's even thicker on top. So, I guess back here where, like I said, it was out in the old 115. I can go back a little further, you probably can't see it, but 118. So, this frame, the bottom is thinner, and that's where I've been cutting it out, and I plan to do the same here. I need to cut this out. That's where all that stuff was sitting, so obviously there's going to be more corrosion down here. And I found that this back plate, for whatever reason, is in a lot better shape than this inside the truck here. So, which is also why I cut this out, and also to clean this all out. But this plate that I'm putting in here is doubling up what's left. So even on average, if we're at 100 thousandths, by the time that 8th plate gets welded in here, we're near a 1/4 inch thick of steel. And that's going all the way up in here, past, beyond where that little tiny brace, that factory brace that was in here. So just want to take a quick minute here and just kind of justify my actions. But I will be treating this one more time tonight and coming back tomorrow, and by then it should be totally clean, and I can carry on with making the templates and getting this stuff repaired. The truck's back in the garage. I'm ready to start messing around with these templates. You probably recall this one that I made for the other side. Well, if you flip this thing around, same party, different house. We're just gonna use this and flip it This will give me a good starting point for this template. I'll transfer this over to a new piece of cardboard because I do want to add a little material here and there, and then I can trim it down to make a good fit. Same goes for this guy. Just like before, you can flip it around, and that'll give me a good starting point for this one to cap this off as well. So I'll be working on that next. I use the templates from the right-hand side to transfer over to this new cardboard. Use my sharpest of Sharpies. And I traced it out, and with a little patience, got it cut in. It fits very nice. I'm happy with this one. So I got this panel done on the outside. And then as you can see, in here I also have this panel finished as well. So now that these are done and fitting nice, I can go and transfer these over to the steel plate just as I did before, and I'll cut those out next. Now I can get these templates transferred over to the steel plate. I got it laid out here. I've got them set up where, again, I can get, I'm thinking the most out of this plate. I might even be able to get a strip out of here later. We'll see. So I'm just going to go around and make sure I get these traced out right so I can cut them next. I got the plates plasma cut out. They turned out great. I got a lot less work to clean up this second time around. Steadier hands. I'm going to fit those templates, get these ground in, and then we'll fit them back up on the truck and see how they look. Look at those, huh? Got them all ground down. The mill scale's off. They're ready to get fitted on the truck. So same as before, we're going to get this one done first on the inside, get it clamped where it needs to go, and then I'll get the welder out and start tacking it in place. Boom! Oh, my second favorite place to be in the whole wide world, right here under this truck. Okay. As you can see, the plate's been fitted. I'm real happy with it. I got nice spacing all the way around. I've got some clamps holding it nice and snug to the frame. Well, in here anyway. We're going to start going. I finished up on all the spots. I clamped my way around and I got this plate as tightly clamped to the existing frame as possible, and just kind of worked my way around, moving the clamps, spot welding, and then I moved the clamps around closer to the edges, and I've been slowly stitching my way around, kind of going back and forth so that I don't overheat this frame too much in one spot, trying to keep that to a minimum. We don't want to tweak anything from excess heat, so I'm just going to continue doing this, working my way around and getting this thing welded in. I've got that inside plate welded now, so I've moved on to this outside cover plate. I've been going around, just as you can see, putting a little tack here and there and using these clamps to keep everything situated where it needs to be. So I've got a nice flush face, just like the original frame was. I've also been using my TIG machine just to try to have a little more control and clean up the welds. There's no spatter going everywhere. I didn't want to use the TIG because that's just a lot of TIG welding. I didn't want to TIG weld the entire frame of this truck or anything like that. So we'll kind of see where that goes. I'll probably switch back to MIG when I really start burning this into place. But I've almost got it tacked all the way back to the back here of this cover. But I do need to do something with this gap where this leaf spring mount is, because I ground it down more after I made my template. I just really want to make sure that I had any junk out of this area, because it's a critical mounting point. There's enough room here that I can definitely put a couple of tacks and then weld in another little piece of plate here just to fill that void. But after getting the back half of this truck all rebuilt and reinforced and all that good stuff, I'm really thinking about just cutting these mounts off and putting some brand new stuff up here. These are newer leaf springs, and when I put them on, I did add new shackles and bushings and hardware in the back. But these being original and how much weirdness has already been going on with this frame, probably for good peace of mind, I could just put something new up here and feel better about it. I'm gonna go ahead and get back to welding so I can get this part finished up, and we'll go down to the next thing. There you go. It's all welded in. Use a little bit of TIG, some MIG, some chewing gum, some special spice, and it came out all right. I know it's not super pretty. Some stuff's not too bad. There's a lot of really good welders out there, and I'm not one of them. As far as penetration goes, though, it's going to be solid. I just got to clean up some of these welds. Some were a little bit goobery because I was playing around with the settings, getting back into the groove of things. And you know, behind every ugly weld, hopefully you got a pretty grinder. So the trick is to grind off just enough so that it's smoothed out, but you're not actually grinding into the base material, you know, where you were trying to fuse it together. You know, you want to have good penetration there, so you're not just grinding all that hard work right back off. So I'm going to do that next. We're going to get cleaned up, and we'll see how it looks. I finished grinding the frame down. I'm real happy with that, but before I show it, I want to quickly talk about the grinding wheels that I was using. So both of these were purchased from my local home store. One of these two is my favorite, and it's actually this one. I don't know why I'm going to hide. There's only two. You're only going to be able to guess. 50-50. This is your average metal grinding wheel, and this one is actually way better. I like this one. It's made by Ferd or something like that. I'm not really sure how to say it. It's a German company. It is awesome. And I think if you haven't tried it, you should definitely give it a go. This one is twice as much as your standard wheel, but this is also, you can see, quite thick and rigid. And because of that, I've noticed that when I use this one for grinding, it's a lot more controlled. It doesn't bounce around as much. And I feel that it's not as smelly. Right now it's actively snowing and below freezing outside. I prefer to do this kind of stuff grinding outside, but that wasn't an option today. And even right now, because I've been using these, the resins, the binders that hold all the abrasives, you know, the abrasive stuff inside of this wheel, it doesn't have that burn-off smell that just reeks. So just want to quickly talk about that. And also these DeWalt goggles that I purchased. I bought these to try to keep more stuff out of my eyes, because when I'm under here grinding, you know, you're going to have dirt and rust and everything else. But when you got the grinder throwing all kinds of grit around, try to keep it out of my eyeballs. Standard safety glasses like these, things were kind of still bouncing and getting in. But I do like them. Problem is, they seal tightly around the face, keeping stuff out, but it's also allowing moisture to stay in here. Even right now, I'm getting this like fishbowl lens look, where there's moisture building up. I can hardly see out of them. So anti-fog isn't really a problem when you can't even see because of the moisture. So if anybody has any suggestions on a better product for safety, like a goggle that seals on the face but also allows it to breathe, you could maybe mention something in the comments. I'd like to try something else. It's definitely helped keep stuff out of my eyes, but I'm only able to use them for maybe 5 minutes at a time before I gotta wipe them out or air them out. All right, let's go and look at the frame now so you can see how that turned out. Oh, man. Voila. There it is. I went after it with that grinding wheel like I talked about, and I got it smoothed out with a flap wheel. I really like flap wheels. They leave a nice finish, and I was able to grind off any, you know, itty bitty bits of mill scale that was left on there and pretty up the welds. It's actually kind of hard to even show it because it's so dang shiny, but it is done. So that concludes this other side for now. I still would like to, it's actually still thick metal down here as I've measured, but I would like to come back after I finish the back half of this frame completely and probably lop these off both sides and then put a piece all the way up and then weld some new leaf spring mounts on both sides. So that's why I didn't do the bottom yet, because it's just not that bad, and I'm gonna do it later on after I get some more stuff done.